Black Kojak with another video for you. Educational, informational videos just to inspire you to get you to the next level in the area of Amazon and beyond. This video here is a video that is needed for this time, and I wanted to share this video with you because it's very current of what's going on in Amazon. Actually, this started around February, and so there was some changes, some major changes actually, mostly about cutting budgets. And so when you cut budgets, it means you cut the time and you cut people. And those that have been in Amazon for a while know that people will decrease due to the amount of people that you hired during the peak season. So this video here is a book that I read some years ago called Who Moved My Cheese by Spencer Johnson. I suggest that you pick up the book physically, but we'll go over the video of what this book is about. So without further ado, let's get started, and then we'll have some dialogue about this book. Let's go.
What would you do if you weren't afraid? Dr. Spencer Johnson. Some of my favorite books on life and business advice come in the form of parables. The Alchemist, Siddhartha, and Who Moved My Cheese. This story is set in a maze with two mice, Sniff and Scruffy, along with two children, Hem and Haw. In the beginning of the tale, all four characters are delighted to find their favorite type of cheese at the location they call Cheese Station C. After finding the station, they would race there each morning to get another treat of cheese. The mice continued this trend, while the two children started to get lazy, showing up later and later to get their cheese. One morning, the mice arrived after following their well-established route to see that there was no cheese left at Station C. Sniff and Scurry weren't that surprised. They had been noticing less and less cheese at the station for quite a while. Hem and Haw, on the other hand, were shocked. They couldn't believe that the cheese was gone, and were angry, frustrated, and in denial about the loss of this resource. Sniff and Scurry, being rather simple and having already noticed that the cheese was running out, accepted the fact that Station C no longer had what they were looking for, and started combing the maze for new cheese. They were handsomely rewarded when they found Cheese Station N, which had more cheese than the two mice had ever seen. Hem and Haw, unfortunately, stayed at Station C. They refused to accept that the cheese was gone, and refused to change. At one point, Haw suggested that they search out new cheese, but Hem rejected this idea quickly. They were too comfortable, and searching out new cheese would be difficult. After days of hunger, Haw decided that the current routine was not working, and that things were not getting better. He decided to leave Hem at Station C and return to the maze in search of cheese. While the journey was not easy, and was full of stops and starts, and even a return to Station C to see his friend Hem, Haw finally found his way to Station N, where he was delighted to find his old friends, Sniff and Scurry, along with a variety of cheeses that he had never imagined. Dr. Johnson uses the metaphor of cheese to represent the things that we want in our lives. This will be different for each of us. It could be a good job, a loving relationship, money, or health. Using this metaphor, Who Moved My Cheese illustrates a few important lessons. First, change happens. Life's one constant is change. And not just in one area of your life either. People around you are constantly growing and evolving. New technology makes the old obsolete. The demands of the job market and workforce are always changing. Don't be like Hem, stuck at Station C, waiting for more cheese to appear. Second, anticipate the change. You know it's going to happen, so plan ahead. While you aren't likely to predict what will change, you can leave yourself options and make contingency plans. Number 3, monitor change. This will mean reading the news, keeping up good communication with friends and loved ones, or trying out new tech when it shows up. The best way to anticipate change is to monitor the different factors that go into it. Lesson 4. Adapt quickly. Once you do see the change that you already know is coming, quickly decide on your new course and go. Sniff and Scurry adapted immediately to the lack of cheese at Station C, and thus were quick to find Station N. Haw took a little longer, and thus spent days hungry and worried. The early bird gets the worm, as they say, so you want to adapt as quickly as possible. And lastly, enjoy the process. You can look at change as something you must go through, or something you get to go through. Either way, it's going to happen. Learn to enjoy the challenge of adapting and experiencing the new opportunities that change will bring. Change will bring you the opportunity to grow and become better. You just have to embrace it. Remember, what would you do if you weren't afraid? Who Moved My Cheese is a short little book that you can easily read in an afternoon. We think it's well worth the time, considering this fun little read contains lessons that could be put into practice throughout your life. We hope that you enjoyed our book summary and video. If you have a book you'd like to see us cover, leave your suggestions in the comments below, and we'll do our best to animate them. Also, before you go, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button.
Alright, so very informational piece of work that was described here. Once again, I suggest you pick up the book. Book is very, very cheap, and it's a reminder to yourself if you're not built like this already. So the backstory of this is that I worked at a newspaper company, and I was a part of the marketing team. And so I think they had like a bookshelf. Yes, they had a bookshelf of books that was by the marketing director. And so I saw the book and wanted to pick it up and read it. There was always thoughts in my mind of how I can become a leader. It wasn't really like a big light bulb in my head, but it was something I wanted to be one day. So I picked up the book and I read it, and that was when I was very young. That was actually my first corporate job, and so I just remembered that book, and every now and then, not all the time, it would register in my head about this book, especially when I'm working in different areas of employment. So that's how I learned about the book. As we get a quickly recap, Hen and Haw and Sniff and Scurry. So Sniff and Scurry immediately jumped. You know, they jumped on the next ship and they were out of here. They took opportunities and they did not waste any time. And then we have Hen and Haw. And we all have seen people like this before, or we know people or we actually see this going on in the Amazon atmosphere. If it's not going on right now, it will happen. All right. So we've seen people that work at Amazon and we don't see them anymore. You know, you either are in connection with them or you just see them on your shift often, and all of a sudden you don't see them anymore. And then you also see people there that are still there, but you can, if you have conversation with them, you can tell that they're not going anywhere anytime soon. They will be there until they get gray hairs. And so this here was just describing of how Haw was Haw. He basically was the person that was spinning the wheel. He couldn't keep up. He wasn't going to move. And so this story is in relation to what I've just had recently, where in the field of robotics, they slowly trickled down the head count. And so the head count used to be, it's 4 floors, and we would have 16 people plus 17, 18, 20 people. So it'd be a total of 20 people head count. So that means that every corner of the square was occupied by an AFM worker. All right, and I was one of them. I would take a floor, and then you have people called floaters, where if the middle is congested, the floaters will be the 5th person on that floor to clean that up. All right, so you have like someone he's an extra. That person is an extra. So you have 4 corners. If I described this before in my videos, you have a floor, and of course a floor has 4 corners, a rectangle, and so each section is covered by an AFM worker. We all have our own territories to cover. And then you have someone that's in the middle that will help out the work. All right, so in the top of January, the first thing that happened was they took our extra time away. So, this is your opportunity to get extra work if you wanted to. If you want to get some extra work, because to hand off the work from the work we did, sometimes the handoff will be a lot of trouble. So we would have people like myself, because I like to give money, to help recover or help clean up for the handoff of the remaining shift. Well, then they said, in January, they're not going to allow extra time for you to work. In other words, no overtime. All right. So the next thing after that is that they started having floors where instead of 4 people on each floor, now we're going to have 3 people on each floor. Now, as this is gradually going down, you hear veterans commenting on the changes. As I mentioned, I said the word veterans, commenting on the changes. Not only that, but people would get when this peak season over, they start cracking down on the people that's not doing what they're supposed to be doing, or if they're doing things unethically. So, they'll start catching people on cameras. They will start looking at everything because they are downsizing. And so they started doing that for us as well. And now they also started removing people because they have something called add-backs. That's another position that's a part of our work, that they remove those people. So now they don't have that position. Now, I'm not saying fired. I'm saying that the people, when I say downsizing, that means that the people, like we have 3 people to a floor, the remaining people that used to do the work, they have to go to what they call PATH. They have to go to other departments to help out because you can't come here. All right. So with that being said, we have some floors that are very aggressive when it comes to dealing with the field of robotics. You have a lot of obstructions, you have a lot of drives, you have a lot of pod, you have a lot of activity, a lot of action that go down that we have to troubleshoot. Well, now you downsize, so that means what? More work. So for those that know about the Amazon principles, the first thing I thought of was frugality. I was like, this is building grit for those that think about this in a positive way. if you come in early, take a position in the field of robotics, you just look at this as is building you up as a character. You know, you'll get ready for being, it makes you tougher. So, but also I know this is a part of Amazon's principles. And so this also includes bias for action. You know, if you say this is not my work, well, you can take action by help cleaning up when the other person is unable to clean up because we don't have many people, right? So I just look at things in a positive way. Now, I say that to say that we have some haws in the building, if I could say that. We had some people, such as myself, that decided to depart and grow in the field of robotics. Now, mind you, I respect the frugality, and I did the frugality, and it made me tough. It makes me more aggressive, and it makes me shaping up personally for what I do in my day-to-day life. How to be quicker, how to be more sufficient, and how to not do double work. So I was on the robotic floor, but I also learned that my cheese was moved, and that's the whole purpose of this video, is that there was some people in there that was whining and moaning about who moved my cheese. And so we had some veterans there that were very vocal, and I thought it was hilarious, actually. I found it hilarious because you don't own the company. You don't own it. So, of course they're gonna move your cheese because they own the cheese. So it's not really yours, right? So the owner of Amazon told other associates, operators, managers, operators on top of operators, they all sent it out that said, we need to downsize. And so someone that's a seasoned veteran is complaining about who moved my cheese. So if you were hen, and if you were sniffing scurry, you would look into building your own or making your own cheese, or sharpen your skills by going back to school or applying to other jobs instead of saying things on the radio or the walkie-talkie. Oh man, this is getting tough. I can't believe this is going on. You've got to be kidding me. I've never seen work like this before. This is too much for me. Oh, I can't take this anymore. And I'm saying to myself, I'm praying for these people. I'm going to pray for you because this is hilarious. And I don't want to offend anyone, but I want to suggest this book because that was the first thing I thought of when I started downsizing. I said to myself, well, actually, before this happened, I was already on the move. I'm not going to tell my secrets because that's none of your business. But I was already looking to evolve because I read books, I do research, I communicate, and thank God that I'm not saying this is all from me doing this on my own. It's the purpose of what God had for me to see. And I took advantage of those opportunities. And now I'm not perfect. I still need to be disciplined in a lot of areas, but I'm getting better. And I'm glad that this happened. I'm glad I received the revelation before all of these things started to occur in Amazon right now. So anyway, I just wanted to say in closing that change will happen, whether it's been in your employment or in this country. You have to prepare for change, right? This is common sense, but I'm just have to reiterate this for my Amazon workers, because this is your time to be a gladiator, to be vocal, to be proactive in your talents, your skills, your information, the benefits that Amazon has to offer, i.e., going back to school, cross training, anticipating other positions that are open in A to Z. So anticipate change and monitor change. All right. Will it get better? Well, I tell you what, it's right now, it's 2026 and the month is March. We're having some record-breaking situations going on in this current moment, and its change has already happened. And if you haven't prepared for it, you need to prepare for it, because just like I talk about sports, you have to anticipate change. You have to prepare for change. You have to prepare for the game. You have to do your part. You have to play your part. And so don't be complacent. Now, last thing I'll speak about is this is your point in time where you should start building relationships. Talk to 2 people a day while you're at work. Get to know who these people are, no matter what class they are. Start being familiar with people that are movie makers or shakers, game changers. All right, you know who I'm talking about. You know people you need to talk to. Listen out for information. Amazon always have postings in the restrooms and in the learning center. Be a part of that. Build your skills. Stay current. And enjoy the trust process. And last but not least, grow. This here is ageless. And so I just encourage you to do whatever you need to do to accept the change, and don't be complacent. There's the one person that was doing a lot of, that had a lot of remarks about the change, and he's still there, and he's still on the radio giving out all of this complacent energy, I should call it. And so I'm just saying to myself, because this is an individual that likes to talk over you as well. So you can't tell anyone, you're not God, you can't fix people. And people would say that to me when I was immature and when I didn't get it, that they can't change me. I have to go through it. I have to be the hall and finally realize that I need to grow. So again, just be mindful of changes if you work at Amazon, and start making moves. Be that person that they shouldn't see anymore, in a good way. And accept the change. Again, this book is called Who Moved My Cheese? And it is a good book, and I suggest that you check it out and look it up. And it was made in 1998 by Spencer Johnson. All right, stay encouraged. Last thing I'll say is never mistake a habit for hard work. Never mistake a habit for hard work. Okay? What you're doing every day, that's a habit. But are you putting in extra work for doing the work that you're doing? That's all I have. Thanks for letting me share. I'll see you in the next video.